A wise man once said, if you want to be an elite receiver, you go to Ohio State.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, Venture Sports Talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes, and today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. During today's show, we'll discuss Emeka Egbuka's impact on the latest Buckeye commit, as well as what this commitment means for the Buckeyes 2026 recruiting class. But first, Ohio State has a long track record of having elite receivers year after year after year, not just under Hartline or not even just under Zach Smith. You can go back for decades and look at Ohio State's track record of having elite receivers. And high school kids see that, and kids that are in high school that want to be elite wide receivers, they should go to Ohio State. It's the same thing that happened with Kayden Dixon-Wyatt, who is the latest player to commit to Ohio State's 2026 recruiting class, a four-star kid out of modern-day high school, the teammate of another commitment in the 2026 class, and Chris Henry Jr. He wants to be elite, and he understands if you want to be an elite wide receiver, you go to Ohio State. And that's a thing that should be said around the country. If I am a guy that wants to be elite, I have to consider going to Ohio State. Now, maybe they don't give you an offer, or maybe they already have 4 or 5 players already verbally committed, and you are the last one to try to get in that mix, and they don't want to take anymore. That's a whole different story. But to say you want to be elite and not even think Ohio State's an option for you, or you should pursue that doesn't make any sense. Because Ohio State wants elite receivers every single year. And Brian Hartline has a track record of year after year after year going out there and getting elite guys. Getting guys that might be a 3-star, but you produce them to being a gem, develop them year after year after year. The next thing you know, when they're walking out of Ohio State, they're a legend in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, we think about it. We know them all the time. Now, Kayden Dixon-Wyatt is not one of those 3-star guys. He's a 4-star guy that wouldn't shock me if he would be a 5-star guy at the end of the day. He's just on the outside of the top 100. He'll be in there before he is done playing high school football out there in California. He's that kind of player. Standing at 6'2", 180 pounds. Another big thing about this is that Ohio State and Oregon and even USC have had a lot of battles over the past couple of years. But it's mainly in this trio, it's Ohio State and Oregon battling year after year after year. And what are you finding? Well, that sometimes Oregon's getting guys, even from Ohio State's own backyard, to go out to the Pacific Northwest. While this kid and Dixon-Wyatt's on the West Coast out there in California, Oregon had to come down south. Ohio State had to go way out west. And Ohio State beat Oregon and USC for Dixon-Wyatt's commitment. Those are 2 really good schools. I'm not going to say Lincoln Riley or Dan Lanning do bad things with the programs they lead. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is this. The fact that Ohio State can go out there and get 2 kids, 2, to leave California to come play in Columbus, Ohio, that's huge, 1. But now you're beating 2 conference teams. Yes, it's still weird to me to say that Oregon and USC are in the Big Ten, but that's where they are. They're currently in the Big Ten Conference, and Ohio State is now one of those teams that is battling with Oregon and USC for the same commits. But it's a little bit different now than it used to be, because now you're looking at it and you're focusing on, well, Ohio State and Oregon. It's not so much they're battling right now for seeding in the CFP. Now they're battling to try to make sure that they have the upper hand and have the better talent to make it to the Big Ten championship game. Hats off to Ryan Day. Hats off to Brian Hartline for doing what is needed to not only get 1 kid from Ohio, from modern day, but to get 2. And Dixon-Wyatt is one of those guys, when you turn the film on, it's clear that he has elite traits right now. At 6'2", 180, he is a physical wide receiver. He is going to be a matchup nightmare. A lot of the stuff I saw when I was going through his huddle film, he was lining up in the slot, running seam routes or running various routes in the slot. It didn't matter if it was a safety over him or if it was an outside backer or if it was a corner. Didn't matter. Homie had the juice to get on top of that route quick, fast, and in a hurry. And if I am Brian Hartline and I'm looking at this young man, he's what I want. I want a guy that's this versatile right now, that's also having a running mate that's coming to Ohio State. So it's not like you're going far away from home and that transition is going to be a really, really difficult. No, you're going far away from home, but also you're going to be with one of your teammates, which is going to make that transition from high school ball to college ball a whole lot smoother than it is for some people. But also, not only that, his numbers. He had a jump from his sophomore year in 23 to his junior year in 2024. Sophomore year, 33 catches, 512 yards, 6 TDs. This past year, his junior season, 50 receptions, 693 receiving yards, 5 TDs. I don't really care about the one less touchdown this past year than the previous. It's more receptions, 17 more receptions. It's more receiving yards, over 100 plus more receiving yards, over 150 to be exact. He is progressing. He is getting better. And this is what you want. As Ryan Day has been preaching versatility, cross-training, versatility and cross-training, what are you going to find with the receiving room? Well, your top guy, Jeremiah Smith, is already being cross-trained and being versatile even during his freshman year, going to being someone that can go from being an outside receiver to being a slot receiver to being in motion and going back and forth. And what does that do? It creates matchup nightmares, even to the point that Ryan Day mentioned, I believe it was during the Texas game, where Jeremiah Smith simply changed his feet at the line of scrimmage when he was lining up, changing his footwork, changing his placement of his feet. Texas saw that. Texas called something out, but they weren't ready for what was coming next. Ryan Day needs guys like this. Ohio State desperately is going to keep pursuing guys like this. And if I am Brian Hartline, this isn't just a check for getting a fourth receiver in this recruiting class. It's a check because this guy could be a dude. This guy could be a player. This is one of those guys that you desperately want on your team. Hats off, Brian Hartline. Hats off, Ryan Day. I mean, you're stretching your footprint. You're going further, wider. And the fact that Lincoln Riley and USC are building what's a new practice facility, and they're spending a whole lot of money to try to raise up the level of competitive nature and to try to get recruits that are in their own backyard over there in Southern California to stay right there in Southern California. You have a team like Ohio State that is saying, no, that ain't going to happen. We're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And the next thing you know, it wouldn't shock me if Ohio State does to Southern California what they're doing right now to the South. Saban leaves. Ryan Day is extending the Buckeye footprint. Now, Lincoln Riley's still out there, but Ryan Day don't care. Dan Lanning's still out there in Pacific Northwest. Ryan Day don't care. What is Ryan Day doing? Consistently stretching his footprint, making his mark in various parts of the country to make sure that his roster is the best it could be. While Ryan Day is trying to make the roster the best it can be, this commitment impacts how Brian Hartline might pursue other receivers in the Buckeyes 2026 recruiting class. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank y'all for tapping the Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. One thing that comes to my mind when I think about Kayden Dixon-Wyatt committing to Ohio State's 2026 recruiting class is how it impacts the rest of the recruiting class. Ohio State currently has four receivers, committed to the 2026 recruiting class. There are 12 players total on both sides of the ball in this cycle for the Buckeyes. Chris Henry Jr., Kayden Dixon-Wyatt, Jaden Ricketts, and Brock Boyd. And on the surface, you hear four receivers, and you think, you might not want to go that far. You might not want to add a fifth. But in the way of recruiting now, especially with Ohio State getting four verbal commitments before the official visits start happening weekend after weekend after weekend, what are you going to find? The Hartline can't let up. You at first have to do what's needed to secure all four of these guys. As Chris Henry Jr. has shut down his recruitment, that does not mean that Dixon-Wyatt, Ricketts, and Boyd are not going to take more visits, or maybe they're just considering it. Maybe they haven't scheduled them, but maybe they're thinking, I might want to entertain this or entertain that. I might as well. YOLO. I only get this opportunity one time in my life. But also, I don't think you need to. I think you need to keep pursuing and pushing to get at least one more guy. Because as I look at Ohio State's roster right now, it would shock me if multiple receivers hit the portal in December. Yeah, at the end, right after the conference championship weekend, the portal will open up. And I'm looking at the roster right now. Some of the key guys in the rotation, I don't think Bryson Rogers or Mylan Graham or Quincy Porter really are going anywhere. I think Phillip Bell will stay. Desi Jones will probably stay, but you're going to be losing probably Carnell Tate, possibly Brandon Ennis. So who does that mean? That means that Rogers is going to step up and Mylan Graham is going to step up. So in the 2026 season, my projection for that year, the starting receivers will be Smith, Graham, and Rogers. Quincy Porter's backing up. Phillip Bell's backing up. Desi Jones is backing up. So you're probably going to lose two receivers, assuming that both Ennis and Tate go off. And then possibly David Adolph, who's currently a redshirt junior. I could easily see him leaving Ohio State to go to a G5 level. Reese Stocksdale, who was a walk-on receiver at Ohio State, just committed to Eddie George's squad over there at Bowling Green. And that's what I think might happen for David Adolph, who I think is going to be a good receiver when he can't consistently get on the field. But right now, he just can't do that because that room is full. That room is stacked, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And so I think Brian Hartline should probably go for 5. Now, you may say, Jay, that's crazy. You can stick at 4. No, you can't. In today's college football, you can't be satisfied. You can't be satisfied at all. You're going to want to make sure if one guy leaves, you know the person that's going to replace him. And there have been times under Ryan Day that it's been very, very clear that they don't know where the next guy's going to come from at all. They don't. Somebody ends up decommitting, and what do you find? You find that Ryan Day has no idea where the replacement's going to come from. A lot of times it's coming with quarterbacks, and a quarterback may go this way or go that way. And when that quarterback goes there, you got a commitment from them. They end up deciding to flip to go to another school. You're scrambling, trying to get your papers together, trying to figure out, okay, like that guy left. My pile of papers is all flustered because I'm flustered in my head because I lost a guy that I planned on having for 3 or 4 years. All of a sudden, who's my backup? Who's my backup? And you're scrambling right after National Signing Day, trying to find somebody, or right before National Signing Day, trying to find somebody. Where if you keep pursuing, if you keep pushing, and you expect two of your junior receivers that will be draft eligible at the end of the season to go to the NFL, you're not only going to be able to have guys currently on the roster that can fulfill the roles that they're leaving behind, that are now void, but also you have enough guys in the recruiting class to make that room, or to sustain how solid that room currently is. It's also a great get when you get a guy like this who's a fringe, who's on the outside of the top 100, but like I said, based off the way he's able to be in contested passes and one-on-one situations and be able to be on the outside or the inside, it wouldn't shock me if Ohio State was able to get more guys out west, specifically in Southern California, which I heard a lot when Pete Carroll was at USC. I know it's almost over 20 years ago now since he's been there. But I remember over and over and over people were saying, Pete Carroll don't have to get on a plane to recruit. All he has to do is just drive around all LA, and all the players and all the talent he needs is simply right there in his own backyard. And another school, they say, that doesn't have to go far to recruit. I know Miami's one of them, but even Miami doesn't play. They got to go on a bus to go play on their own home games. I think it was Georgia. I feel like it was Athens, one of the schools down there in the South in the SEC, and then LA. I think it was Joe Klatt was talking about. They don't have to go around to get on a plane to recruit. Just stay where you are. Which is easy to say, but it's harder to do when someone that is the reigning national champion is coming out there trying to stretch their muscle and say, hey, we got a recruiting tool nobody else in the country has. We just won the national championship. We also have another recruiting tool nobody else in the country has. One of your teammates is coming to Ohio State. We also have a recruiting tool nobody else in the country has. Hartline, who is the best receivers coach and developer in the country, is now calling offensive plays. And so there's so many recruiting tools Ryan Day and Ohio State have that nobody else in the country have, which adds to the appeal for Kayden Dixon-Wyatt or other elite talent around the country that want to be elite. They want to be developed by elite guys, but maybe it's far away from home, or maybe you had to convince mama a little bit more because mama's a little stubborn with letting someone else coach her baby. And I understand that. My mama is tough. Now, not too tough. She is just tough. She's tough on me. She wants to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. She wants to make sure the people that I am around are the right people for me. I remember when I was a youngster. I'm going to pull this story out of my bag. I don't think I told this one in a long time, if ever. So I was probably middle school now. Middle school, maybe high school. That was high school, definitely. And my buddy Cameron Matthews and Devin Williams, we used to go to Saturday night youth at Cornerstone Baptist Church. And my mom wanted to know who was lead this group, who I was spending time with, who the leaders were. She wanted to know all the stuff. Because my mama wasn't about to just drop me off anywhere. She don't care if it was a church or another place that had a safe building sign on the outside of. My mom wanted to make sure that she knew who the people were. She talked to them. She had their phone number. My mama was like that. And so I remember one time, Brian McGinnis was one of the youth workers there. He used to take me home every now and then because it was about a 20-minute drive from my parents' house. So my parents would take me to the Saturday night youth, get there about 6:30, 6:40, and then they would drop me off probably closer to 10 o'clock. We used to go to pizza afterwards. But mama wanted to make sure, Brian McGinnis, who are you? What are you? Get all them questions answered. But what was it? My mama wanted to make sure her baby was being taken care of by trustworthy people. It's the same thing in recruiting. Mamas, dads, uncles, aunties, grannies, whoever. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to make sure they put their son in the right place with the right kind of people to help them succeed. And that goes in recruiting. It's a lot of stuff that goes on recruiting, but you got to make sure with your recruiting pitches, you figure out a way to land and to make sure that mama's on board. You're getting it right now. A lot of these guys, Ohio State currently has 12 verbal commitments, which means a lot of parents are on board. But also, I don't think they're done. I do think they need to go out there and try to get one more receiver, because you could be losing a couple guys to the NFL draft. You could be losing multiple guys to the portal. So while you're losing those guys, you're bringing in 5 talented receivers in the high school ranks that are ready to be hungry, that are ready to be eager to learn and to be developed by no one else other than Brian Hartline. Speaking of Brian Hartline, there are numerous times I have come on this show and said, in Day We Trust, on a day like this, hyping up and talking about the Buckeyes' latest commitment, I got a few words to say in Hartline We Trust. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now, I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank y'all for tapping the Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Those of you watching right now on the YouTube are noticing a different setup than normal. Finally, I'm working with a different audio setup to try to get the audio back to the way that it's supposed to be on the show, which is my normal standard. Also, we moved into our new house, and so the background behind me may have a different feel over the next few weeks. Few days, honestly, until we get everything exactly the way we want it to be to make this show exactly what Buckeye fans crave. Speaking of Buckeye fans craving certain things on this show, Buckeye fans also crave what Brian Hartline has been doing year after year after year after year, which is developing talent at the wide receiver position that is getting better and better and better and better and better. And trust you me, I am a big promoter of Ryan Day. And a lot of the things Ryan Day has done as a coach, I'm a bigger supporter and promoter of Brian Hartline. Because we can rant and rave and marvel at some assistant coaches at Ohio State, James Laurinaitis, Carlos Loughlin, Larry Johnson. We can rave about all of them. And as great as Larry Johnson is as a coach, Brian Hartline has done better work during the time period that he has been coaching at Ohio State, as well as Larry Johnson has been coaching at Ohio State. Based off of what? The production. I mean, look at the production between the receivers at Ohio State and the D-line at Ohio State. What's one complaint we have at Ohio State? I'm not here to try to just like bash Larry Johnson. It's not him that's coaching. I mean, that's playing. He's a coach. But also, I truly wonder, why is it sometimes guys go off to other places and they do things they didn't do at Ohio State? Is that a reflection of the team, the position coach? Who is it? All I know is Hartline's guys are consistently top 15, top 20 picks. That was a Larry Johnson staple at one point. No, it wasn't. Sam Hubbard, I don't believe he was a first-round pick. Tyquan Lewis, really good guy, wasn't a first-round pick. Yeah, you got the Boseless, you got the Chase Young. Larry Johnson also has a tough job, but so does Brian Hartline. And I trust Brian Hartline. But also, this commitment is not only a reflection of Brian Hartline, it's also a reflection of Emeka Egbuka. Remember earlier in the show, we discussed, I think it came up a couple of times, how Kayden Dixon-Wyatt is a teammate of Chris Henry Jr., five-star receiver, one of the top top two receivers in the entire class. Chris Henry Jr., for this illustration, is Jeremiah Smith on his high school team. Just simply that receiver that nobody can stop. Nobody can stop him. Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, just no defender on the other side of the field that can stop Jeremiah Smith, legally stop him. Now, you'll be able to pop him, or you'll be able to have a Major Wright when he was at Florida against Oklahoma in the national championship game, and Major Wright said, I could have gone for the ball on that first play that Sam Bradford threw, but I wanted to go for him. I think it was Mark Clayton, the receiver, that he hit. No, he just hit him. He popped that dude, laid him out. Yeah, that'd be a way to try to slow down Jeremiah Smith, just try to do a legally targeting in that call, and the next thing you know, you may be out, and he may be out. But Chris Henry Jr. is Jeremiah Smith on his team. His teammate, Kayden Dixon-Wyatt, is Emeka Egbuka. During Emeka Egbuka's career, he was never the number one receiver at all. But he ends his Buckeye career as the all-time leader in career receptions at Ohio State. Now, I'm not saying that Kayden Dixon-Wyatt is going to be a guy that's going to come to Ohio State and break that record, but I am saying that Emeka Egbuka just kept his head down and worked. He didn't complain he wasn't the number one receiver. He wasn't a guy that was me, 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 me. I mean, I grew up on Keyshawn Johnson. I grew up on Randy Moss and T.O., all of these number one receivers that some called divas that what? Preached me, get me the ball over and over and over again. And what did you find? Y'all, they were so self-centered and selfish and all about. Emeka Egbuka was not that. Never. Emeka Egbuka was a team player, and all he wanted to do was everything he can to help his team be better. And Kayden Dixon-Wyatt has the right thought process where earlier in the show we said if you want to be an elite receiver, you go to Ohio State. That was a direct quote from Kayden Dixon-Wyatt about why he committed to Ohio State. He wants to be elite. He's coming in with the guy that is better than him, but also he's coming in to be coached by Brian Hartline. You can trust Brian Hartline. But let's just say that Dixon-Wyatt follows the path of Emeka Egbuka. He's never the number one receiver. He comes in, puts his head down, and works. He's a great human being, a great young man, the kind of guy that you want being an ambassador of the Ohio State University. And the next thing you know, he becomes a first-round pick while also never being the number one receiver at Ohio State. Who would that be a reflection on? Dixon-Wyatt. Because he didn't let the outside noise, he didn't let the internal struggles because he was getting less targets than maybe he thought he was going to get. He didn't let any of that stuff get to him. All he did was put his head down and work day after day after day after day. Also, you're going to have to put your head down and work because Brian Hartline don't take no mess at all. What do you need to do to get on the field under Brian Hartline? Block as a receiver. What's the one thing that people are ranting and raving about when it comes to TreVeyon Henderson? Now, I know it's a different position. His ability to block and him being a pass protecting running back is a big reason why he was in the second round as high as he was. Because if TreVeyon Henderson had the same offensive skill set but didn't block, what was your third round pick? Because you don't want to take a guy that high that's a liability in pass pro. No. Because what is the NFL? It's a passing league. And if you draft a guy that's super talented, kind of a scat back or an H-back type of guy, can play slot, can play in the running back position, whatever the case may be, but you can't put him out there. Or if he's out there on third and long, what is it? He going out for a pass because homie can't block the guy coming off the edge. He can do that. You got to make sure you can block as a receiver. It's tough to do, very, very difficult. But once you get that down and once you learn to figure everything out, what are you going to find? That it's just one of those milestones that you need to accomplish to get on the field at the Ohio State University while being developed by the Brian Hartline. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube and find Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube. You can find both shows wherever you listen to your fine podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's on Locked on Buckeyes right here on a Monday. We'll see you next time.